Welcome to Canine Handler Fitness. This is a podcast for dog sport handlers who want to feel strong, capable, and confident in their bodies. Hi, my name's Liz Joyce. I am a strength and conditioning coach, and I specialize in fitness for agility and dog sport performance. In this podcast, we cover everything you need: strength, speed, mobility, and endurance. All the things to keep you moving, performing, and doing what you love, both in and out of the ring. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the podcast. I have one of my very favorite humans, Shade Whitesel, here to talk about toys. As you know, if you've been following along, I recently got a 18 or 19-month-old Malinois. She is a rescue, and she's new to me. I had always planned to do a Asking for a Friend series for people that have puppies, but now it's going to be expanded to people who have puppies and also dogs that are new to them. Shade is someone who is phenomenal at toy skills. She is someone that I have used your courses over and over and over again to help me with my toy skills, my communication with my dogs. And yeah, thanks so much for being here. And I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about, why are you so passionate about toys? I know you've been teaching this toy class with FDSA twice a year for a long time. So obviously, it's something that you care a lot about. So why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I always love talking about this, and it's something that, I teach a lot, 3 times a year for the last 13 years.
Wow.
I know, 3 times, every other term.
Wow.
So why do I like this? Because, toys are fun. They're super fun. And when you get dogs that really like toys or toy play, it's super fun to enter into that with your dog. It's exciting for them. It's exciting for us. It brings us back to childhood when we, did endlessly throwing the ball for our childhood dogs, My poor dog obliged me.
I was just thinking, their poor shoulders, but yes.
I know. I think about it now. But anyway, we do it a little more healthy. But it just brings us back to childhood, and it's fun. It's fun to play. I think that treats you can play, but I definitely think that when we talk about toy skills, it's more playful, and it's more like the human and dog playing. And for me, especially, I try to make sure the toy is the facilitator of the play between the person and the dog. It's not about possessing the toy or getting the toy. It's more about the interaction between the dog and the human with the toy. So that kind of goes along with, hey, it's the play stuff. It's a good and exciting interaction with us. So that's kind of, why I kind of got into it. Plus I have German Shepherds, and they don't German Shepherds don't return the toy to you, and they don't let it go. So I had to get good at teaching this stuff, because I definitely didn't get it for free. My breed of choice does not they like to play, but they like to play their way, not, the way that allows you to get multiple reps of stuff.
Yeah, my breed until recently has all been German Shepherds as well, so I can attest that. I was going for a walk the other day and ran into someone who had a very cute dog, and he was telling us, these Malinois, they're fearless because every time they play tug with their person, they always win, so their confidence is so high. And I said to him, I think every dog, when they're playing tug with their owner, should win every time, and probably every dog's confidence should be higher, but I was like,
I know. You just smile and nod. And be happy that they're playing tug.
100%.
This huge deal that you weren't allowed to play tug with your dog because it made them aggressive. And now, we've come to a better understanding and better place with that. So that's all cool too.
Super cool. So I got some questions for you. And I just remember I'm asking for a friend. I think these questions are going to be good for people who have puppies and also people who have new dogs. So she's new to me. We are her 5th home, so she's had very inconsistent training. She's a lovely little girl. I'm looking forward to see what happens as she grows up. But here's my first question. Okay, if someone has a puppy or a new dog that they do or maybe don't know the history of, what's the very first thing that you would want them to focus on with toy play, and why?
So the first thing, and this is assuming that you have no resource guard. Well, it still is if you have resource guarding. I want the puppy or the new dog chasing and picking up something. I want us being able to throw something and have the dog track it and chase it and pick it up. A lot of times with puppies, that's kind of a hurdle because they might like sort of half-heartedly chase it and not pick it up. So the picking up part is, I mean, really I want all my rules, but that's kind of the first thing I concentrate on. And especially with like a dog that's new to you where you don't know the history, oftentimes you like some of these most dogs are absolutely fine around toys, but some dogs have some learned history that you have to tread around carefully because you don't know the dog, okay? So I probably wouldn't play tug with a dog I didn't know at first. My game of choice would be more of a chasing thing so that I can get the dog away from me. My hands aren't near the toy. And again, with the picking up, because with the picking up, I want the dog to learn to come back to me. But I want the dog with the chase. I want them learning to target. I want them learning to target the toy without my hands near so that I don't have to worry about, oh, you're biting me instead of the toy, like things like that. It just simplifies stuff. And it doesn't have to be this big old chase. It can just be like a little bit of a chase. So, puppies, their eyeballs, they can't see very far. It's hysterical. They lose track.
Yeah.
Right. And then too, the owner, especially with the puppies, they learn how to throw in a way that attracts the puppy and allows the puppy to track and chase. And so the owner's learning that at the same time. Like, how do I throw it in a way that I might need for this particular dog? I might need to like dangle the tug or the toy in front of their face a little bit. So they're like, oh, okay. Or are they really quick and I need to be really careful about how I release the toy? All those things. It's just so much easier to figure those out in like a chase game than it is in a tug game where speed is of the essence. You kind of got to trust your dog. They have knives in their mouth and all these messy things come up when you try to do tug. That said, I introduced tug really fast, but I'm just saying the first thing is chase, track it, pick it up.
I got two things. One question.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one thing I noticed when you were describing that, which is the reason that you have been and will always be the toy person for me, is that whole thing is about how do we reduce conflict? And like, that's amazing. And I just wanted a clarifying question because when I hear chase, I think maybe what kind of distance are we talking about? We're not talking about 50 feet. We're talking about like 5 feet,
Yeah, I mean, with a puppy, it's literally like 5 feet. You're just trying to get that chase instinct. It doesn't have to be these big, long things. With adult dogs that have learned history or that are really fast and want to like kill themselves or, they're not very good with their bodies, this is going to be controversial, but I still want a chase game. And I want the dog chasing enough so that they run and chase it, not scrape it up off the ground. So that's kind of where the picking up comes. Mm-hmm. And the handler knowing how to throw it in a way that the dog can start catching the toy, not actually like picking it up and doing like a formal retrieve. So I'll look at toy choice, something that bounces in front of the dog, that the dog can catch it in a way that doesn't hurt themselves. And then later when the dog does know the games, I will definitely, like my dogs, especially the younger one, he's not very good at saving his body. I never, ever play chase with him. Like it's something I did when he was young. We got the rules and now I do other games that don't hurt him. So I definitely want to teach it as fast as possible. And then depending on the dog, especially if it's like these working dogs that just like, they just slam themselves into the ground, or like if there's an erratic bounce in the toy, they're gonna, destroy their cruciates. So I want the chase game for the value, for the joy, for the learning of the non-conflict. But then once the dog gets those rules, I switch it depending on the dog to a game that is easier on their body. And some dogs are fine. Like some dogs daintily pick it up on a full run and they're great, but not a kind of dogs that I am around.
I do not live with those dogs.
Right.
Okay, so here's my next question. For you, if you've got a new handler team or a new team, right? And it's a puppy or the dog's new to them. When you're looking at them, let's say if I was in your class, which you've got one coming up in June, so hey, I might be. What does good toy play look like to you? Like, how do you know if a team is on the right track or not? What kind of things do you look for?
No conflict. Like you mentioned that conflict, like in the beginning, I look at can the owner get their hands around the toy? And does the dog go into resource guarding? Does it go into, oh my gosh, this means you're going to steal it? Does the dog go into keep away? So kind of a really important thing to me is having no conflict around the dog giving up the toy. And usually for me in the beginning stages, that means the dog dropping it on the ground. So I usually I do 2 toys, and I want to work on the trade with the dog dropping it because I don't want the dog to have to bring it to hand to be formal about it. That normally brings up things that I'd rather avoid while I'm teaching these games. So the no conflict thing is the biggest thing that I want to see with good toy, and then toys around the hands, things like that. But basically I want chasing and eye tugging, and I want the owner, like in the tug game for sure, I want the owner to figure out what does the dog like. Like, I feel like people sometimes come into my toy class, or they come into when they have a new dog or a new puppy, and they have all these sorts of expectations of what sport they're going to do with the dog, of how the dog should play. You know, maybe it should play like their other dog played, or maybe it should play like their mentor's dog played, and they have all these sorts of expectations. And the thing that I want people to do in the beginning is figure out what the dog likes. Does the dog like chasing? Does the dog like tugging? How do they like to tug? What do they bring to the table? What have they learned if they're a newish older dog? Or what do their genetics bring to the table if they're a puppy? And throughout all those associations, so like, for example, I work in IGP. We normally want a dog to pull in tugging, and I don't care. I want there to be joy in the play. I want us to figure out what the dog likes in the toy play before we start putting our prior associations or expectations or our sport expectations. So I kind of went on a bit of a rabbit hole there, but it is so important to me that we understand what the dog brings to the table in terms of genetics, how they want to play, and that's how we first start playing. There's plenty of time to eventually do what our sport likes, but I want to figure out what the dog in front of me likes and figure out how I fit in there, basically. So yeah, obviously I have strong feelings about that one.
Well, you do, but that's why you're here answering these questions. I've inherited your strong feelings as osmosis. Oh. One thing that you taught me that I was thinking to myself now that I'm playing with my new puppy, that the one thing that was really impactful and kind of guides the answer to that question, do you like this or not, is when I let go of the toy, do you immediately re-engage with me or do you take off with it? And that's how I know, what do you like? Do you like it when I face you? Do you like it when you're on my side? Do you want me to touch it? Do you want to just play? Do you like it when I tickle your ribs, or do you like it whatever? And like her willingness to engage with me is a good barometer, for what she does or doesn't like.
And I feel like a lot of times people are asking me the question, how do I get the dog to bring back the toy? And it's really not about that piece. It's not about the piece of the dog bringing it back. It's about the piece of, does your dog feel confident in the playing or the tugging itself? Does your dog like how you play? Do they feel like they affect you? Do they feel like they're going to win? Is winning important to them? Or do they kind of like some dogs that aren't like really high drive, I always think about like the Mals and the Shepherds about what they want, but you might have a dog that, like a Great Dane, for instance. I've got a couple Great Danes that like to sort of run alongside their handler and sort of hold it. Like they like to cooperatively hold the toy, which is absolutely fine. I don't particularly want a Great Dane like tugging me around.
No.
It's really good. I mean, and I'm not picking on Great Danes. I'm just saying I've encountered a couple that really like to sort of hold it with their owners. And that's what that dog likes. And if we try to, so basically the point is that it's about figuring out what the dog likes, playing in a way that makes them feel empowered and confident, like they affect you. And then that piece of the dog bringing the toy back, when you let them have it, will happen naturally on its own. The dog already knows that toys connected to hands equal like tugging. And if they don't feel confident about that piece, then they don't want to connect the toy to the hands. If they do feel confident about that piece, they'll be like, yes, let me bring it back. And then we need some rules and structures around that, because I don't particularly want to be body slammed or things like that. So we need to do some polishing, but your main piece of the dog bringing it back has to do with how you're playing with them and how they feel about that and what they like,
Yeah, because like it's incredible the difference between what my two dogs right now like in terms of toy stuff. Levi likes if I just hold it beside his mouth and kind of blah, like he likes it when I slap his ribs or grab his scruff, and she's like, "I'm gonna mess you up so bad your mom feels it."
Exactly.
So speaking of, being able to read your dog and if they are enjoying the game or not, I'd love to hear about, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making when they're introducing toy play. And because I'm asking for a friend who's got a new rescue dog, let's say they got an older dog, what kinds of things, or puppies or whatever, but what kinds of things do you see, like in terms of handlers who are maybe a little bit more experienced, who are trying to refine their toy game? But what about people who like maybe don't have a lot of experience with toy skills?
I think that people feel like it has to be perfect right off the bat.
Oh.
And there's a lot of figuring the individual dog out. And sometimes in my toy class, I actually tell people to kind of don't video themselves and go away and play informally, like for 3 or 4 days, so you can like take the pressure off yourself. So a lot of times with new handlers, even with a puppy or with a new dog, there's all sorts of expectations. And I am probably guilty of that, saying I want the dog to play this, and this way. But there's a lot of good that you can do by just sort of hanging out with your dog in the garden, in the yard, and just kind of messing around. So number one mistake is feeling like it has to be a certain way right off the bat. The second thing is, and this does kind of go along with that informal stuff, is giving your dog the time and the space to think and to figure things out. Like slow the game down. Don't hurry. And especially with the dogs that are really like frantic or desperate about toys, we tend to call that high drive. But you can be really high drive and focused about something and not be desperate and frantic about keeping the toy. So dogs that are very fast in their toy play tend to have a bit of franticness, and those dogs, they do well when you slow the game down and you're the calm role model in the game, and you allow them some space to think. So a good example of this might be in my 2 toy chase game. When you're trying to get the dog to drop the toy they have in order to throw the toy you have, a lot of people want to keep the toy they have really active. They want to have in their hand and they want to kind of tease the dog. And the dog might be having the toy in their mouth, kind of like looking at the toy you have and kind of moving their head because they're looking at the toy that you have. And those dogs really benefit from you holding the toy that you have out of reach, so kind of high and out to the side, and waiting for the dog to discover on their own that dropping and consciously dropping the toy they have leads to then you marking and throwing, rather than you're trying to get them to drop it with all this action and activity on your part. Okay, so whenever possible, I'm always telling people, hold the toy still. It's okay if your dog, like I love it when your dog stands in front of you chomping the ball they have and you're like holding the ball you have out. I love those moments because those are thinking moments for the dog, where the dog's like, oh, I chomp it, you're not reacting, I drop it, and then I get another chase, That's just a good example of a way to slow it down and allow the dog the space and time. And people are so uncomfortable with that. And it's just like, it's okay. I mean, we'll get a fast drop, we'll get faster later, but let's like slow it down. So that would be another mistake that I'm always like trying to get people to do. And yes, you want to comment on that, I see?
Oh, yeah. Well, you taught me that with Levi, and I've got this incredible drop when he runs to me with his toy. I just literally stand there, and he spits it out at my feet. And yeah. I remembered that. I did that with my new puppy, and she's doing that for me too, and I've only had her for 5 weeks, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. So I like that too, and yeah, I like that. And kind of, I don't know, maybe, I guess this is more a question about if I'm doing things right. When I'm tugging, I try not to make the whole game about fierce tugging, and I try to make it more about like little, like we tug, of course, and then she wins it. But I also make it about, hey, let's chase each other around and have some fun, and kind of like make it about not just like getting into a headspace of like trying to take me down.
Yeah. So
make it a little bit lighthearted.
Right. So along those lines, like dogs that take it really seriously, I want to make sure that dogs that do a lot of kill thrashing and shaking their head, so they might like shake their head. I want to make sure those dogs are getting what I call a satisfying grip. So my sport wants a full grip, but I don't want a full grip in toy skills because of my sport. I want a full grip. The majority of dogs that I see really like filling their mouth with something, and it satisfies them more than getting their own two front teeth on it and getting a half grip. So if I convince a dog to get a full grip and get it back in their molars, they oftentimes feel more satisfied with the game, and the game can slow down and feel better for that dog rather than this half mouth thrashy thing going on.
Okay, so two things. A, that sounds like a toy choice thing, right?
It does, yeah.
And B, maybe some of that thrashing is because they're not sure they're going to be able to hold on to it.
Yes, and maybe their thrashing is because they're not sure they're going to beat you. So you want to make sure that they, again, feel like strong and empowered. And in general, your pushers, your dogs that want to push the toy into you, they generally want bigger, fluffier toys. They want, and I don't mean like fur toys. What I mean is like a puffier toy that they can sink their mouth into. So dogs that want to push oftentimes want a bigger toy that has some give to it. Pullers often want harder toys, or sometimes even slippier toys. So if a dog wants to push, I'm not going to actually go to a thin leather toy for that dog. I'm not going to go to a milker for some of the agility dogs if they want to push. Those are toys for like dogs that really want to pull. Oftentimes they want that harder thing to like grip and pull. So toy choice has to do with the way, mostly, there's always exceptions out there, usually has to do with what that individual dog likes.
This is a great conversation.
It is. It's fun. There's so many nuances.
Yeah.
That there's so much to know and learn. And it's like, I can't like give it all, you know, like I can't.
We don't have enough time, first of all, but yeah.
Right.
And also, anyways, I've worked with you a lot over the last, I don't know, long time. And every dog, every conversation, every time I see you, there's always a slightly different approach for the different situation. So you can't possibly, give it all.
Well, it probably also has to do with like the dogs that I encounter, in seminars or in clients, and then my own dogs. Like you were talking about, like your young girl is maybe taking it a little seriously. Dogs like that might benefit from like a chin rest while they're holding the toy, calm it down a bit. Or they might, like my dog Talik, who's super serious about his things. He benefits from me letting him have it, and then he takes a break by leaning up against me. So he kind of like comes in sideways and I pet him. So that's not tugging, but he needs sort of a break from the seriousness of the actual tugging. Yeah. So I'll oftentimes with the more serious dogs, I'll put sort of breaks in there like that depending on what that dog needs, but sort of to slow the game down, to not make it so serious. And I'm always trying to reassure them, I'm not stealing your stuff, and also like, yeah. I get a lot of people coming to me saying, oh, well, my dog, I don't have to let them have it because they like to fight and they don't like the possession. They like to fight. And I understand that, but you need to let them have it so that you can gain the information as to how quickly they come back. Yeah. So even if you have a dog that likes to fight and doesn't care about possession, I still want you to let that dog have the toy so you can see what that reset looks like. Like, I can tell you that they're not having fun, whether they like the fight or not, if you let them have it and they take off to the far corner of the yard. Yeah. That dog, they might like the fight, but they're not winning the fight from you. Yeah. They're not liking the way you fight. Or do you let them have it and they come right back at you, and they come back at you so not thinking that they slam into you, they jump all over you. And that dog, great, I love that you love it, but, two of us are playing here, and we need to put some sort of checks and balances in there. So I'm going to have a signal that means now you can come back to tug. Now you can body slam me when I'm prepared for it, not when I'm not prepared for it. And when you put some structure and some rules in there like that, you also work on like the arousal part of the toys, which is like, we haven't gotten into, but that's a huge part of why I like playing toy stuff with dogs, why I like it transferring to sport. You can ask me more questions about that, but I do want some checks and balances in there because I don't want the dog, being so excited it can't think in the toy stuff. You know, I want some like, and now you can play tug, and now you have to drop it. And all those kind of structure things are in there eventually with dogs that like this. So one, I can get another rep in there. I can use it for reinforcing whatever sport thing I'm teaching. And two, so I can make sure the dog doesn't go up in arousal where they're going to hurt themselves or they're going to hurt me, or it's just not functional for what I want. So all sorts of things about that, nuances.
No, it's great. It's great. And yeah, I mean, you do know me. So yeah, that's one thing I like about toys, and like she kind of can go up and come down. So you build breaks in like that. I've been building them in with her like that too. I'll kneel down and just pat her side, and she's able to kind of come down fairly quickly. So I kind of can I see her getting a little bit hectic. I was like, shit, this is stressful for her. So I change, you know, anyways, all that stuff. I think toys are great for learning how to moderate our dog's arousal, but you know.
Yeah.
So I got probably one more question for you. Okay. Here's my last question for you. Do you change the foundations? Okay, it's two-pronged. It's not really two-pronged, it's two separate questions. Okay, first off, do you change how you approach training a team in toys if they're going to be doing agility or bite sport? Let's say they're a puppy or a new dog. Let's say the first 6 weeks I come work with you. Would you change that approach? And further to that, and this is just a question about, you know, in training, we want to have a harder rep and then a slightly easier rep. So we're not asking harder all the time. Do you do that when you play with toys with your dogs, or you're teaching people to play with toys with their dogs? And what does that look like if you do?
Those are two really complicated questions.
You know me. You know I show up with that. I'm sorry. You know.
I forgot what the first one was. Okay, so tell me what the first one was again.
The first one was, if you had a team agility team, and I'm asking this because I'm asking for a friend, but I'm training agility with a girlfriend of mine. We rent out a barn. She's got border collies. Her dog's toy skills are amazing, and I see how she uses them so effortlessly. The toys are just everywhere. The dogs grab them, and I don't know that I'm ever going to get to that place with my Mal, but I will try. And like, I'm wondering, like, if somebody's going to use toys for obedience, or they're going to use toys for, you know, building a bite sport stuff or agility, does it change how you approach training the team, like depending on like their future outcome?
No, I do the same thing for all sports. Even if you're doing dock diving, I want the structure. I want the basic structure of, can your dog like drop on its own? Can they push you with the drop? Can you, do they wait for your signal of opportunity to tug? Can they tug with another? Can they tug and they chase with another toy on the ground? Can they drop a toy or bring it to tug without the sight of another toy kind of luring them? So all of that is absolutely the same for every single sport I do or advise on. And then for agility, a lot of times toy on the ground is really valuable. So it's something they use a lot. So I would incorporate that, whereas maybe the dog doesn't have to know toy on the ground skills for other sports. So basics is the same, and then you start tweaking it. I also tweak it depending on what the dog likes. So for instance, Kelpies come to mind. The Kelpies often like to stalk. So they want to stalk you with a toy like on the far end of the yard. So that's a breed specific thing that I might then put into the toy game and put it on cue only once I have the basics of the toy game. So the basics are the same, and then I modify it depending on the dog, depending on the handler, and then depending on the sport. So yeah, so hopefully that kind of answers what you mean.
It does, and I guess this is also a thing that I've observed from conversations with others, that you're so amazing at toys and your sports IGP, bite sports, and people don't know what that is, but I assume if they're listening to the podcast, they do, that sometimes people maybe think, I should be learning toy skills from someone who does agility. And I'm like, yes. And
that's all the same.
Shade's the boss. So I'm like, and also I'm going to be doing different things. So should I be, if I was asking for a friend, would my friend want to focus on different kinds of things? This with a question.
Yeah, I still want the dog learning the basics. And most bite sport people don't play the way I do. They don't give their dog any time, and they don't give their dog any choice in the matter. So I'd say that oftentimes agility people are more kind of how I play. The other thing you asked about the hard easy is, no, I don't think about hard easy when I'm teaching the game. I do think about hard easy when I'm adding behavior skills to it, sport skills. So if I'm adding jumping, if it's agility, I do pay attention to how long it takes the dog to drop the toy for me, bring it back, things like that. And that informs me as to whether I should do an easier rep or a harder rep. And so that's kind of how I stick the hard easy in there. Really, really paying attention to the dog being able to drop it or being able to offer behavior for the next rep, kind of a start behavior for the next rep. It's super important to me, the fluency of that, and that allows me to keep the arousal under control and allows me to also not ask for harder. So a good example for me would be if my German Shepherd holds on to the toy when he comes back longer than his baseline. That might tell me that he found whatever we just did kind of complicated and he needs a moment. Or I've got a dog, a client had a Mal. That dog found it super easy to drop. So she dropped really quickly each time. But it would then be harder for her to like come into heel for the next rep. That would be harder for her. So different dogs have different tells, if that makes sense. And it's important for us when we're training them to start to become conscious of what those tells might look like. One more thing that I want to talk about just really briefly that you didn't ask a question on that I did write down
can I ask a clarifying thing about that?
Totally.
Okay. Did you write it down though so you can revisit? Okay. So when I asked the question, easy, hard, easy, in my head I was thinking about toy play intensity. Like, but what you're saying is that we want the fluency of the drop and re-engagement to be extremely high. That has to happen. Like, that's criteria. And like the things you do outside of that before the actual whatever toy stuff, obedience, or that could maybe also be affected by fatigue or heat or whatever, right?
Yes.
So those kinds of things are going to tell us, like, is this dog really enthusiastic about the work or the ask that we're having right now? Or do I maybe need to back it off a little bit to keep the enthusiasm up? Is that more what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't worry about like the intensity of the game. That's something that you discover whether while you're figuring out how the dog likes to play. But I actually don't like think that much about the intensity of the play, if that makes sense. Maybe I should, but I don't tend to.
I mean, it's working for you, so I'm sure it's, sure it's fine.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. It's working for me till it doesn't. So
that's how it always goes. I remember a friend of mine years ago had a dog that was really like head thrasher, like vicious tugger, and he went through a large size. He was like a 25-pound dog, and he went through a large size puller in less than 5 minutes. And I was thinking, there's something either like up with this toy or like, anyway, something about this just like that doesn't feel like the right amount of, it just doesn't feel like maybe the right kind of recipe.
So I look at a dog like that, and I'm like, do they need a puppy or toy? Like, are they frustrated by the hardness of the puller? Or like, is the puller something that this particular dog can chase, or does that get them, non-thinking? Like maybe this dog needs some, So I would look at it that way while I'm learning what that dog likes in the tugging and the chasing rather than thinking of it easy, hard. It's probably the same thing, honestly.
Oh, it changes how I think about things. Can I say one more thing about that?
Yeah.
The other thought that I had was like about actually when you're holding the tug and you're engaging with the dog, I think a part of it was that this person was just holding on to the dog. And I see this happen a lot where they just don't let go and the dog gets frustrated and then pulls and thrashes harder and harder and harder. So like, that's another thing I look for. And I'd love to hear your thoughts is like kind of reading their body language vibe of like, when are they ready to win? Or are they actually getting just really angry at me about this? Right?
Yeah, I let the dog win pretty quickly all the time. Like, I don't have, like, it's my pet peeve when you send me a minute-long video and you haven't let the dog win the entire time. So it's basically been tugging for a solid minute. Like, that never happens. That never happens in any sport.
Are you going to send them over to me so I can help them with their shoulders?
That's right. It's job security. Huh? Like, French ring, like, the longest they have on the bite is 15 seconds. So why are we handlers playing more than 15-second tugging with our dog? And that's for like a bite sport.
Yeah.
So oftentimes 3 to 5 seconds is really all the time you need to be holding on to it.
All right.
So that's something to think about. I let the dog win sooner and more often than hardly anyone out there does.
That's what I thought you were going to say. All right, tell us what you got written down. I can't wait to hear. So Shade's off the hook, off the cuff. Okay, let's hear it. What you got?
So, well, something I was talking to with a colleague of mine, we really want to do, and I guess I just didn't fit this in your first questions. We really want to play toys with our dogs, the dogs that like playing toys, because we want to make sure that that level of arousal is something that we are part of, not the breaks. Something that we turn into a fun thing that we are a part of. When you feel that way, dog, we are there with you. We're not putting the brakes on the arousal all the time. And we have gotten to be such good, clever trainers, especially with food. And oftentimes one of the cons of food is, if you have a dog that really likes toy stuff, is that food just doesn't bring it to the arousal that toy stuff does. And so it's super important that we teach the dog that at that level of arousal, we're still there and you can still think. And so by not avoiding toy play with dogs that want to take it there, we get a lot more training. So we are able to train the dog how to think. I like the dog shaping within a toy game, which is like a big deal. In protection work, I want my dog to be able to shape in protection work. And it is a game changer when a dog can think and offer behaviors at that level of arousal.
If people want to get a hold of you, I'd love to hear about what kinds of things you cover in your toy skill class, which starts on June 1st. So if you have not taken classes with Fancy Dog Sports Academy, you usually do 12 gold spots?
10.
So 10 gold spots. Yeah, that's smart of you. And those students get to submit 6 minutes of video per week, which Shade goes through and helps you work through challenges that you may or may not have. There's also silver spots, which they've just changed how that goes, and each silver spot gets 90 seconds a week, which is a game changer for those students for sure. What kinds of things would people expect to learn in that class? Because I know you got 2 levels, so which level is it, and what kinds of things do you cover in that class?
So just to clarify, the gold students can use their 6 minutes in whatever way they want to. So they can give me like a 30-second video, they can give me a 20-second video, and oftentimes I can tell exactly what I'm going to say in the first 30 seconds. So usually anything over 30 seconds, I'm still going to say the first thing that I notice. Like I kind of figure out the priority. The silver level has been changed so that you get more chances for video. So you're allowed 1 video a week, and that video can be 90 seconds long. So you're not allowed to chop up your 90 seconds of video. So it's meant just to be 1 video. It's super helpful. The silver level is super helpful for people who just need a little help and just need a little tweaking. But I cover like the basic skills like chase game, tug game, how to get a drop, how to teach the dog to push you without or the drop on the ground. Tugging, we go through a lot of that, how to put opportunity to tug, how to start the game, how to end the game, because oftentimes dogs who have big feelings about toys have big feelings about the game ending, so we kind of need to make sure that's not a conflict thing. So the basics, and then there's a lot in that class, and then I have like other things that nobody ever gets to because we need the basics, but I do have like toy on the ground skills, how to shape, how to like a lot of our sports have us and the dog, and then another big exciting thing. So agility, that could be the obstacles, and fight work, it's usually the helper. So I have lectures on kind of how to make that super clear for the dog as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
The basics.
Oh, this is my 3rd time going through this class with you. 3 dogs, 3 times through the class, and I'm learning new stuff every time. So it's good.
Yeah, I usually recommend that you kind of take the toy class at bronze the first time. So that you don't have any access to me, but you have access to my excellent TAs. The other thing that's changed FDSA-wise is the bronze students are now in a study forum within the class. And it's really kind of been helpful in that it kind of pulls the whole class together. So that's been super helpful. But anyway, take it at bronze, get the basics, and then the next time it rolls around, take it at gold or silver, where I can help you with the stuff that didn't come naturally the first time. That's usually what I recommend. And hopefully you have an easy dog.
Is that for me or for... I hope so too.
My website is shadesdogtraining.net in order to find out about those classes, or the FDSA website, or my email list. Be a good way to get all that.
And I'm going to put all that stuff in the show notes so y'all can get a hold of her. But hey, thank you so much. Thanks for answering all these questions for my close friend. May or may not share a same name as me.
Right, friends.
And again, all that stuff's going to be in the show notes. And thanks again for being here. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Yes, my pleasure.
Hey, thanks so much for being here today and choosing to spend this time with me. I really hope that you feel inspired to take action today, no matter how small. We know those small steps really add up. And if this episode lifted you up, please share it with a friend because you never know who needs it today. For more tools, workouts, resources, and ways to work with me, head on over to caninehandlerfitness.com. You can also find me on all the socials with that same handle. I am here to help you reach your goals, feel proud of yourself, and keep moving forward. You've got this, and I'll be here cheering for you every step of the way.